You're listening to the Cars of Carlisle Network, podcast episode 74, Carlisle Customs and Classics with Vanessa and Vinnie Scalavino.
Cars of Carlisle is your favorite internationally downloaded podcast about all things automotive. Darren and his CFC team are ever searching for interesting automotive happenings, real stories about real car people, and fun features to inform and entertain you. Each week, the Cars of Carlisle crew brings you show topics ranging from car shows to team adventures to auto racing weekends to behind-the-scenes human interest stories from car nuts that live across town, across the country, or even across the globe. Come join the road trip.
Today, ride along to the Shippensburg, Pennsylvania area to hang out in the shop with two of the most knowledgeable, professional, and genuine people in the automotive industry. Meet Vinny and Vanessa Scalavino, a father-daughter business partnership that's been building amazing vehicles for clients from all over the map. The Scalavinos business, Carlisle Customs and Classics, provides award-winning customization and restoration to vehicles ranging from pedal cars to $250,000 exotics. This family-run business puts great pride in further building their reputation for producing world-class quality, innovative, and highly sophisticated vehicles. In fact, the Scalavinos foster a sincere interest in turning clients into extended family. Hear how this special car family started out in a 4,000 square foot garage in Brooklyn, New York during the 80s and have since worked tirelessly to build a first-class automotive empire, which is soon to move into a state-of-the-art 96,000 square foot facility in 2020. It's time to meet our hot rod friends at Carlisle Customs and Classics. So, let's get revved up!
Hello and welcome back, Cubers, to your favorite informative automotive podcast. I am your trusted host, Darren, and this week we are going west towards Shippensburg, Pennsylvania to meet with friends of ours, Vanessa and Vinnie Scalavino. They are a daughter and father partnership in family-owned business, and they do some amazing work. And they build incredible customs, hot rods, restoration work they do is second to none. And I'm really excited for you to hear this interview with them and to hear about the 36 years of business and all that they've accomplished. But before we get into that, let's hear all that's going on with our friends to the east in Hershey at the AACA Museum. And it is still not too late for the night to sign up for that Night at the Museum event to be held Wednesday, October 9th. In fact, I think the deadline for sign up is the 1st of October, so be sure to do that. But in that particular evening, the museum will come alive with character actors as they bring the automotive past to life, and the museum itself will be honoring the Carlisle event's founders, Bill Miller Jr. and the late Chip Miller, that evening, as part of their annual Automotive Heritage Awards ceremony. It really should be noted, too, that one of the auction items that will be available to bid on is a ride in the last surviving automatic transmission-equipped Tucker. Yeah, that's right. The winner of that auction item is going to be extremely lucky. That winner and a guest of their choosing will be taken on a once-in-a-lifetime ride in Tucker number 1026. And lastly, save the date for the 10th anniversary of the Autos and Ales. That's to be held on Friday, November 1st. And when you buy 3 tickets, you get a 4th at no charge as a designated driver ticket. So check out more information at autosandales.com. And before we jump towards Shippensburg, let's do this week's podcast trivia question. And that simply is this: true or false? Did Ettore Bugatti say that weight was the enemy? We'll have that answer at the end of the show. So now, let's head to Carlisle Customs and Classics. Hey, hello, Cubers. This is Darren, and I am lucky enough today to be at 2275 on Rittner Highway, just outside of Newville, between Newville and Shippensburg, and we'll be talking more about the facility here soon. But with me is Vinnie Scalavino and his daughter, Vanessa Scalavino. Thank you both for letting me come into your shop tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, really excited just to let everybody know about here in the Carlisle area, Carlisle Customs and Classics. How long have you been around? Let's maybe start with...
Well, we've been in this area for 26 years.
Coming out of Brooklyn, correct?
Moving out of Brooklyn. Been doing this for 47 years. I own my own business for 36 years. And wanted to be near Carlisle, capital of the world, for car shows.
I was just going to ask you, I mean, coming from the borough, and then all the way out to Carlisle. Was it really just the car shows? And,
I came out to Carlisle with friends and family to different shows, even when the kids were young, and then we'd come out to Hershey, or we'd come out to Lancaster. So central Pennsylvania was very likable to come here. I came here when I was a kid with my parents, and then I took my kids here as a parent. So it kind of grew on us. And then being near Carlisle, we talked to different people in the management there to see what they would think about a restoration shop in the area. And next thing you know, we were working with them hand in hand to get started. Did some promotion work with them. They painted a couple of giveaway cars that they had, and started making a name for ourselves right here in the Shippensburg area.
Okay, excellent. Now, Vanessa, as daughter, you were obviously part of some of these road trips and seeing this area. So this probably felt a lot like home away from Brooklyn at times, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it was definitely a big adjustment when we first got here. Right. When you're living and not visiting, it was definitely a change, but it was good. And I pretty much went to, middle school and high school and everything here, so got used to the area, and it's very nice, especially, been in and around Carlisle a lot. So,
were you Big Spring District?
Yeah, Big Spring. Yeah, okay. So Bulldogs. And, yeah, so I like the area, but yeah, it was definitely an adjustment.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And then you were saying, own your own business for 36 years?
Yeah, I started back in 1984 in New York.
Okay.
And, we moved out here in 1993, and we've been out here 26 years.
Wow.
And doing this since I'm 16 years old. Once I got my license, I was hooked.
So how did you do it out of necessity? Like you had your first vehicle and you needed to do some body work, or how did it all really? What was the starting point for you?
Well, I got my first vehicle and I just started putting hands on, working on it with different friends and getting different ideas. And next thing you know, I'm up with one car, and I called it like a beater, and then that would be a nice car, so I would put that in the garage and get another car, and that would be a beater, and made that a nice car. So before you know it, I had 3 cars in the garage, and kept making one after the other as a hobbyist.
Right.
And then one time, a close friend of mine says, "Vinny, why don't you do this as a business?" And I didn't give it much of a thought at the time, but it did make sense to do that. So that's the start of my illustrious career as a owner, and most of the cars I did were as a hobbyist, and then we started building cars professionally for people.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what those first 2, 3, 4 vehicles were that were in your younger self garage?
Yeah, my first car was a '67 Camaro.
Okay.
Which
SS?
No, it was a regular car with a small block Chevy, and you went into the gas station and you told them to fill the oil and check the gas, because it burned more oil than it did gas. And then me and my brother Santo went on a hunting trip a week before I graduated high school in 1974. And I came back and we just shot 2 bears and we put everything away, and my mom says, "Go get something to eat for everybody." And I wound up taking a ride with the car after driving 1,000 miles trouble-free there and back. I totaled the car that night because somebody went through a stop sign, and I went to avoid him, put the car on a spin, and there was an off-duty cop behind me that witnessed the whole thing, that verified it. Otherwise, they would have thought I was some rotten kid speeding or something. But it was my first car, so that was on a Friday night. I graduated next Tuesday, so I went out and bought a 1968 Plymouth Barracuda 340 motor,
Pistol
Formula
grip?
S. No, not that particular one. And then I built that car, and that, before you know, you build one, and the next thing you know, we're building another one, and then another one, and hanging out with the right people, getting educated. Hands-on experience is always the way to go if you're self-taught, and you learn by your mistakes, and you go forward. You make the next one better than the one before. And once I started doing it as a business, then I became much more known in my area, Brooklyn, and then we moved out to Long Island, and I commuted, and then eventually I moved to Carlisle. So we set up here in Shippensburg, across the street, at an old abandoned building, and coming from a 4,000 square foot building in New York with 2 walk-in doors and 1 man and 1 big overhead door with no ventilation and no back, and coming to a building with 13,500 square feet of building with a 4-room apartment which I lived in for 7 months and 6 acres of property. I had to pinch myself to say, is this really happening to me, you know? Because New York's real estate is very hard to come by, and big shops are not that popular to find. And I didn't need more than 4,000 square feet to start, but coming in and have the option to be in that type of building gave me a lot more opportunity to expand. So we did just that.
Well, do you remember your first paying customer? Or at least maybe what the job was?
It was like a 1978 Lincoln Continental. The guy, he worked in a catering place that we did business with through the family. And he had a Lincoln, needed a paint job, and he knew I was in business, and the people that had the catering hall recommended him to us, and we did our first paint job in a brand new building. And we hired different people, got to know their talents and their strong points and weak points, and sometimes you take them in under your wing and you make them your family, and you know, sometimes they stay a long time and sometimes they move on. It depends on the situations.
Well, Vanessa, how many people are in the current shop family today?
Currently, we have 9 employees. We're pretty much usually between 10 to 12, like at any given time. But yeah, we've had a pretty steady 9, and then we do an eventual expansion. Then we'll be adding. We're a little tight for space now, so 9 is about all you can fit without people butting their heads together too much.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
So
well, tell the listeners a little bit about how daughter Vanessa. Were you always a car person, or how did this all come to be?
Yeah, I was always a car person, actually. Even as a little kid, I was convinced that I actually could identify cars pretty well, but some things I was convinced I knew, more than I actually did. Like, I pretty much convinced my mom that there was a 1957 Chevy Cadillac model, and, she pretty much believed it for a while. But so there's some confusion, but I always liked cars. I pretty much always expected to be more of a hobbyist than full-time working in the industry. So I didn't really work in the shop until my first summer between high school and college, and I did some administrative things, and then by spring break of that same year I was sanding the Carlisle tram to get ready for painting and stuff like that.
Anybody that knows Carlisle events knows that tram. Bright red.
Yeah, exactly. That was one of our sponsorships. So we had the main tram and 3 cabooses behind, and they actually had to have a police escort to bring it from the car show to my shop on Hanover Street when we moved into Carlisle at the time.
I've heard this story actually from Tim Bowman, I think it was.
Yep.
Wow.
So that was my spring break, just DAing that tram. And then and so I worked back and forth between college and law school. I did a lot of the online marketing and customer contracts and everything like that, and then when I was here, detailing and doing some of the design work, but was still planning on going more into private practice or a corporate counsel as like an in-house counsel somewhere. And then we started thinking about doing this whole expansion, and I was already working here doing a lot of the same things I'd be doing in another company, so we just decided to keep it in-house and just go partners, and so then we'll just grow the company together. And so it's a good fit because I like the variety and the design, and not having the same thing every single day. But then there's also would I have gone to law school if I knew I was going to do this? No, maybe, but it definitely doesn't hurt to have it for all the contracting and everything like that. Absolutely. So I mean, never hurts, but not necessarily the most conventional path towards working here, but yeah. It all works.
Did you go to Dickinson by chance?
No, I went to Villanova.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, I went to Dickinson in high school for some classes and stuff, but then E-Town for college, and then Nova for law school. But yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And when Vanessa was 3 years old, her sister was born in 1989, and I built a certain car for the kids. Now, there was a 1936 fiberglass car, and I asked the guy, can he cut the car down the middle and make it 12 inches bigger. And he said, yeah. So he made me a car that was bigger than an average small pedal car. And I created this thing so two kids could both go in.
Like a wide body, yeah.
Nobody arguing who's going to be in and wait to be the next one, so they both would be in. And I made 2 steering wheels, and I pushed them around with this thing for all the shows we went to. And in order to take this thing to a show, I had to buy like a 6x10 little tow-behind trailer to put this car in. And everywhere we went, it was very well accepted because people saw it. They wanted one for their kids, or their grandparents wanted them for their grandchildren. And Vanessa and Desiree got in more magazines, newspapers, videos than any professional car I ever did. Because I would go up to the photographers at these shows and I said, look, I got the best thing that you could see for your magazine. And I said, look at that. A car to keep the kids into our sport, 2 cute little girls, and they would take a picture, bring it to the editor, and the editor would use it each and every time because it was getting the kids into something that we love. And it was a novelty, and it went over very well. And the kids are actually somewhat famous for where they go because people recognize them from being young and in there.
This was the one.
Oh, wow.
You know, and then instead of pushing it around,
that's great.
People used to say, "Why don't you get a motor?" I said, "Well, we'll wait till the kids get a little older." So then we put a 5-horsepower go-kart motor in there. Had an electric start, had a gas, had brake, had a speedometer, had an emergency brake, and had headlights and taillights and a lift-off body, and it would go about 30-35 miles an hour.
Well, that had to be fun.
They had a ball of fun with that. And every time we went to a show, we would take it.
That was my next question.
But then because of liability factors, a lot of shows didn't want any moving cars around with young kids, so it kind of took a little turn that we can only take it to so many places. But we still have it. It'll be something they have till the day they die. And I would never sell it. It was redone 3 times. It's 30 years old at this point, and we did it 3 different times and upgraded different things with colors and design.
It's time for new shoes, though.
I got
tires new rims. I think.
Yeah. So we had to perk it up a little bit.
What's the current color? It looks like it's like a.
Currently, it is a black and peach, and actually, let me see if I have some pictures. It's actually a pretty crazy pinstriping scheme.
And even if you emailed and shared this, I could put this out on the Instagram post. People would love to see this.
The
I'm sure.
striping on it is incredible. We had a guy out in Long Island.
Alex in Wonderland
that could lay striping down. You would never believe he did it freehand, and he put their names on the doors, and I airbrushed the grill in the front and put bumpers on the car made out of leaf springs, put taillights from a 48 Ford Deluxe, put 29 Model A side marker lights on there for headlights. 2 steering wheels where both of them could drive at the same time, so nobody's in a situation they couldn't drive, so everybody was
throttle and brake on both sides, or just the one?
My wheel was the real wheel, and my sister had the dummy wheel.
But she turned,
that's what older sisters get.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, they both turned, so they all felt like
I'm pretty sure it started with
a pretty
one
good
wheel.
thing.
And she just complained a lot, and so then we added the dummy wheel. She was only 2, but neither of us were driving, so really.
I think she's old enough to know the secret now, right?
Yeah.
I'm hoping Desiree figured it out.
Yeah. Eventually, she got that and kicked me out of the driver's seat. Yeah.
The kids getting in the cars, and we, as a family, would go to shows all the time together. Me, my wife, my kids, and we get them involved, and we've gone to some shows where they're 36 years in a row that we've gone to the show, and we've grown up with other families and had family car reunions instead of just family reunions. And we've gone to their weddings and their communions and christenings and sweet 16s as they have come to ours, and made a lot of really good friends. And that's the good thing about the car industry. You meet new people every day. Sometimes you could take them and go long term with friendship. Now, Vanessa's 33. She's never missed a show at Let East. Never missed a show. Desiree, 30. Never missed a show at Let East. Tiffany, 21. Never missed a show. They came from the home. They came from grammar school, high school, college, law school, their jobs. My daughter flies in from Chicago to go to these shows in New Jersey and Labor Day weekend, that's involved.
That
and
is.
then when they
That's
get there,
commitment.
they meet all their friends, and it's like old home week, and it's awesome.
No, it's pretty amazing, and yeah, there's a couple of shows that are like that, and then
and when they were young, they dressed up in poodle skirts and Bobby socks, and they had like different contests for who was the best Bobby soxer, and each one of them at one year or another won the award, which was cool because every year you would vote for the kid with the most applause would win. So people would cheer my kid on, and the next year we would cheer somebody else's kid on, and it was good for the kids.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
50s cars, 50s music, 50s dress,
Right.
50s haircuts, unbelievable dancing, costumes, everything.
Wow.
yeah. So that's the current color scheme on the top.
I can see what
right.
you mean about the Model A's side markers that
Right.
they made great headlights.
Right.
Yeah, we'll definitely get that.
Yeah.
If you don't mind emailing that, we'll get a photo of
Yeah.
that.
And we got 4 pins that we pop the body right off, disconnect the lights. It's like a professional rig,
Yeah.
and
Which
it's
is
a
good,
very
'cause-
involved toy. It's not something that you
Oh,
go
no,
buy
no,
in a
no,
store.
no.
Everything was handmade, hand fabricated. It's got an electric start motor, so you don't have to sit there pulling the cord.
Right.
So there's a lot of advanced opportunities going into an older vehicle and making it feel like it's a newer vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've gotten into that for other people too. Like this is one of the first ones we did, but full pedal car restorations,
Oh, wow.
which I know
That's-
your father.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, your father's
That-
60
father,
years.
the
Yeah.
grandfather, his grandfather.
He built that one.
The
That,
black
that was
one.
pretty
we
impressive.
did that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That was awesome.
And that restoration, from the time I saw it when I came over when it had it back at the house, it's beautiful. It's impeccable the work you did, and the black paint of Santa Vesta. You cannot make a mistake with black paint. It is unforgiving. So
Yeah, it's pretty crazy with some of these little pedal cars because we'll get people who call us from Sweden and Switzerland and they actually want to do them. They're really big over there, and so we actually might do some and ship them out. But they're really involved if you want to actually restore the older ones as opposed to painting the new, reproduction ones because they're just a lot more intricate and you still have to get all the rust out, all the body work, everything like that. So
it's all the same things, just a very smaller version.
We deal
Scale.
with people of all ages, from the 20s to the mid 80s.
Wow.
We have a gentleman that we saw him at that show at Led East, and he was from Boston and we were from New York, so of course he liked the Red Sox and we liked the Yankees. So we had a perfect rivalry going on all the time every year. And then one day he says, look, I want you to paint my motorcycle. I took a little spill with it, but I want to give it to my son-in-law who flies F-16 fighter jets in Afghanistan. So I said, that would be awesome. So we called up and tried to get some paint from Harley Davidson, and they wouldn't sell us the paint because they said that they do their own work and they don't sell paint, which I couldn't think that would be a possibility. But we decided that if they didn't want to sell us the paint, we'll paint it customized. So we painted a candy apple red and put a waving American flag over the whole bike. And he took this bike and gave it to his son-in-law. And the best payday that I ever got in my whole life for doing a job was from this gentleman from Boston. It wasn't money per se. This gentleman took an American flag and put it in his F-16 fighter jet plane and flew over an enemy mission and sent me a flag in a box, a triangle box that I have outside that wall, with a certificate that that gentleman flew that mission in my honor. And that was the most incredible thing that I could ever receive for doing my labor. And the guy is out there fighting for our country, for our safety, and he was just overwhelmed with the bike, and he was so grateful, and it felt so good to do something for somebody like that. It's not all about money, it's about making people happy, and sometimes the price is it's not the issue. It's a priceless thing doing something like that for that man, and have that certificate on display and that flag on display. That'll be a long time here, long after the money that we earned from jobs. So that was probably the most incredible thing I've ever received in the business. You know? That's
very special.
Awesome. Yeah. We have a guy who's about 85 years old. He has an MG. It's a MG 53 MG TD, and his name is Wayne, and he could tell you everything about that car. He knows everything back and forth. And here's a gentleman that flew a plane before he drove a car, and he was a pilot in the war.
He was the first instructor for the B-52s.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, stories you have. We have a picture of him outside the door of him in his young day. That's another priceless thing that you have. I mean, because now you have memories. You know, money you make, you put in your pocket, you spend. That's not a memory. That goes.
It's transactional.
It's a transaction. We have physical evidence of things that are worth more than dollars itself. And we have a great customer base. When we build cars, we put a lot of them on display in the Carlisle show, Carlisle Springtime. We'll have 9 cars on display that are easily over $1 million worth of cars, all owned by the customers. That shows you the faith and the trust that they have in me to borrow their car and put it on display. But at these displays, people have gained the opportunity to make different magazines, newspapers, sometimes videos. We had 2 of our cars on the stage in Shippensburg Lure Center behind Jay Leno on his stage, and one was a 48 Chevy from New Jersey for Al Sereno, and one was a 68 Mustang for Mohammed Obidi from Maryland. And both those customers came with their friend and their wives and watched their car on stage and watched Jay Leno perform his comedy act with them with their car behind it, which is awesome. You know what I mean? That's some of the things that come about in a positive way from putting the car in the right place at the right time.
Right. That's incredible.
Bike photo.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to, if you have an opportunity to share those photos, we can put that out there.
Sure.
Did you want to talk a little about, Vanessa, about the...
this was just when you were asking about when we first started, this was like the first of the kind of Carlisle interaction with Carlisle events.
Okay.
And so this was a Team Cobra that they did between our shop and I guess one of the technical schools. And so they all worked on that together, and so that was kind of the first...
So spring of 94 then.
Okay. And then there was a 61
And we did a 61 Corvette giveaway in 1994. In 1998, we did a black and silver 1998 silver anniversary pace car, which was 20 years old. We did that in 98. And then we did the Tram. We did some work for Chip Miller. We did some work for Bill Miller. We actually painted a horse ride that would be outside a store that you would put a quarter in and put your kid on it and ride it.
Of course, yeah.
And Bill Miller had one of those, and he brought it to us to restore, and we did that for him. You know, we don't just work on cars; we work on everything. Right now, we have a Coney Island bumper car that was on at Williams Grove, and we're making that into a modern little four-wheeler that a guy can drive at over 30 miles an hour with the body of a pedal car, which looks like one of them bumper cars. In like Coney Island.
Sure.
And they bought it from Williams Grove Raceway, or the amusement park that they had there at the time.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a cool project. You know, it's always you dare to be different and do something that no one else has. Make your own statement, so when you pull up to a red light, you have something that has its own personality. Today, every car looks the same. When you pull up to a corner, you could be misjudged on who you are because there's another car that looks just like you.
That's right.
We try to build our cars with its own personality that reflects the customer, and that's what people like.
What is it like to have Vanessa as a partner and working in the business side by side every day?
Oh, it's a great help, and you know she's very good with the computer. I'm not a computer person, so if we're looking to find something, she goes on the internet, she finds it. If somebody wants to sell something, she puts on the internet, she sells it. She handles that great. We look for a car, like we have a customer now, his name is Eddie, he has a 74 Roadrunner. He was looking last fall and said he wanted to buy a Roadrunner in 1974 because he had one when he was a Philadelphia policeman. And he used to use it as an
nostalgia is
undercover.
a strong power, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Undercover cop. He used this Roadrunner, and it was yellow. So now he was almost 65 years old, and he wanted to get another one. So Vanessa goes online, and ironically, we're from Brooklyn and Long Island.
You're like a broker for them. Then.
Yeah.
And she finds one in Queens, New York. And strange as it may seem, the buyer is a Philadelphia cop. The seller's an NYPD cop. So we went there and bought this car for him, brought it back, and we're redoing the whole car in different colors, interior and everything. And we showed him the car when we first got it on his 65th birthday. So what better happy birthday gift can you get to see a car that's going to be restored to your colors, your choices, you know.
And it was the cleanest car we've ever found.
Yeah, it was just incredible. It was a third owner car, but
30,000 original miles.
Oh, wow.
It was just avocado green. That was the only thing wrong
Yeah.
with it. So
Yeah, right.
it was like garage
he's
kept.
painting a black cherry with a dark silver stripe. He's going to have different airbrushes on it with the Roadrunner. And it's going to be awesome. And we're going to change the top of the motor where instead of having a carburetor, he's going to have a fuel injection system. So you can turn the key and go anytime he wants without worrying about the choke getting stuck like old cars do. And it's going to be totally different than what it was, but the originality staying mostly in the car itself as far as the driveline. We'll change the interior color, we'll change the exterior color, but it's an incredible car for something that's a 1974. Wow. Very, very hard to find anything that clean.
Yeah.
You know, most cars we take apart, they look good until you start taking them down to the bare metal, and then there's super rust work, because we live in the East Coast, so if it's New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, all these cars are out in the weather.
Yeah.
If they're not garage kept, they're going to be in rough shape.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We worked on a Volkswagen for a gentleman, his name was Steve Mayer, and he lived in Carlisle, and we built this car for him, and then he moved to North Carolina, and he said to me when we were building the car, because it was his father's, he says, you know, this car was done about 20 years ago. So while we're taking it apart, there was so much rust that we found newspaper stuffed into the side and bottom rocker panels, and when we pulled it out, we said to you, Steve, you know, we can definitely confirm that your car was done 20 years ago. And he said, how? I said, because we got newspapers that were stuffed in the car from almost to the day 20 years ago. How ironic could that be? So we did the car. He kept it around here. It was a 74 VW Super Beetle. Did a beautiful light blue paint job, widened fenders, put a super motor in there that went from like 50 horsepower to maybe 120 horsepower.
Sure.
With dual quads. And he had the misfortune when he was in North Carolina after a couple of years of having the car, I think pertaining to the fuel line, that they have this new fuel that eats up the fuel line, that E85.
Yeah.
And the fuel line splattered all over the hot motor and set the back of the car on fire. So he had custom insurance. We took a trailer and went all the way to North Carolina, took it all the way back into Pennsylvania, redid the whole claim for him, rebuilt the whole back, new motor, new convertible top, new paintwork on the whole back of the car, good as new, if not better, because now we upgraded the motor with another 20 horsepower motor. So
now you're triple, essentially.
Yeah,
the original
so
car.
now he's almost triple of what the car had original. And that's a difference when you're driving, for sure.
Yeah. Vehicle like that.
You know, and then we had another customer that had a yellow 77, 78 VW bus, and his name was Lauren Johnson. He worked with Steve, and that's how we got recommended to Mr. Johnson. And his bus came from Massachusetts. Now, Massachusetts is by the salt water, so it was rusted in really bad shape. So I have a guy who works for us. We call him Mr. Patches. His name is Roman Morel. He's the only guy I ever met in my life that loves to do rust repair, because everybody despises rust repair. So on this bus, we changed every piece of metal around the whole outskirts that was available, and he must have made 50 to 75 new pieces for inside the car with the bus. Then we put an L couch on it and painted it yellow and white instead of pea green, which was ugly. And Lauren Johnson could be taking his kids for a ride. There's two twin girls, and when the L couch is in there, we put a little table like you have in a boat, and you can go in and out easily enough where the kids can have a snack or a soda or a sandwich or an ice cream. And there's countless times where he's driving the car and somebody will pull him over and he'll sit and talk with him for a half hour, because they're saying, yeah, my grandfather had one of them in Germany in the war and he drove it around. And there's so many good stories from different vehicles you have, you know. And then most of the thing is who had one in your family and if it was good or bad. Now, those yellow buses had no heat, So most of the times you heard of people trying to scrape the window with a hammer, and they would break the windshield because it wouldn't defrost.
Wow.
So this bus really came out fantastic, and it was rusty like you wouldn't believe.
That's Roman.
I was gonna say you can see all the new metal and the new patches.
Then we did a '69 Buick Wildcat for a guy out in Far Rockaway Beach, Queens, that was out in the weather for 16 years, and this gentleman, his brother died, who owned the car. So there was 3 brothers, and it was Reggie, Ronald, and Roland. So Reggie told Roland, buy the car from our sister-in-law and we'll build it. So they built it. They bought the car from the sister-in-law. I picked it up in Far Rockaway Beach, Queens, which again was our backyard, so it was go back to New York. Picked the car up, and it was really, really bad. But we rebuilt the whole car, and the car was phenomenal. And Roland used it for 2 years, had a lot of fun with it. But unfortunately, we lost him at 57 years old. And now Reggie has 2 brothers that are down, and he has his car as a memory. And that's some of the things that we love to do. We call those tribute cars because they belong to somebody in the family, and we recreate them so they're in the family. And when we went to that same show again, Let East, we had 11 family members go from Queens to New Jersey to be at this show, to be there with the car.
Oh,
so
wow.
and that's amazing. And the mother was 90-something years old, and she was there because that was her son's car who passed away.
Oh, wow.
But ironically, she lost a second son. And then 3 months later, she passed away. So the guy Reggie lost his brother and his mother in 3 months, which was pretty terrible. Pretty terrible.
Yeah. And in the interim, we started building Reggie's car that was destroyed by Hurricane Sandy.
Right.
So
Reggie had a car that was under 6 feet of water in Rockaway that was totally wasted because of the salt water. And we did his whole car over, and he's gingerly putting it back together mechanically. We did all the body and paint, and I put a convertible top on. But this is the relationship we have with certain people. They're like family. They're not just customers.
Right.
And we love our customers, and our customers love us in return. And even though we're out of New York 26 years, 50% or better come to me from New York. We pick up, we deliver, we provide a service to them that they can't get anywhere else. And when we left, they were upset. But I said, look, this is something I need to do. I need to make this move. I want to move out to the country and start up a new business. And I still have all my customers from New York. And that's
a big testament to you.
To what we do.
Absolutely. It says a lot.
Vanessa will talk to people at the Spring Carlisle show, and they'll talk to her, and they'll say to me, how does she know so much? And how does she know about cars? She says, because she's been in my shadow for 33 years. And she did a lot of it on her own, and being in the right place in the right time, and listening to the language of the cars.
Yes.
And now she's a female entrepreneur, going to be the successor of legacy of our business. Because when I'm retired, this will be my legacy living on through her.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you.
And Vanessa, I asked your dad earlier what it was like to have you shoulder to shoulder each day. What any thoughts from your perspective?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I learned how to build everything and do it the right way through him, and so it's been a long process and everything like that. And when I first started, I was doing kind of more just administrative or little menial works, and then I kind of built my way up the ramps, detailing and stuff. I definitely was no nepotism in positions.
I'm
so
sure.
If there was a gutter to be cleaned or something like that, I was still doing it. But I would prefer it anyways, because I didn't want to come in and be like the boss's daughter that people had to worry about, like what they say or what they do, or if they ask me to help them with a bumper or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, it's good. I mean, we learn a lot. Obviously sometimes you can bump heads and stuff like that when you're around people that are similar and everything like that. But I think the end goal is we have the same end goal, and we push each other to get there. And so sometimes I can be too straight, and so like we both have like different ways we would like to get there, but it all works out. And so I think it's a good combination. I think probably all one way or all the other would probably not be as good as the
That's
combination.
Right. Say
and another thing that she's great at is we reach out to people that don't have the time or the know-how to find or build a car. So we say we will go out and get you 8 or 10 prospects. You pick the one you like. We'll go negotiate the price and bring it back and build it to your satisfaction with the color, the interior, the motor, any kind of options you want.
Right.
She had gotten educated by a man named Ed Bloom in the real estate business, and he wanted to build an old pickup. So we went out to Puxatony and picked up a 1952 F1 Ford pickup. It had a nice start, but it needed a lot of finish work. And we built that for him, and he enjoyed that. And then 2 years later, he did another mild upgrade with different suspension and a new motor and new gauges, and then it got even better and better for him. And then we took another vehicle that a guy who worked in the Pentagon, and he worked in very important places with very important people, and we found him a 67 Camaro out in Connecticut and brought it back and redid the whole car for him. And when he goes to the Cars and Coffee, like in Virginia, he says he didn't even pull up and he got people crowding around the car, so he's very happy. And the car's black, which when you do a black car has to be 110% straight.
Absolutely.
So he has a car that's really looking good.
Wow.
People appreciate it, and he didn't have the time to do that working in the Pentagon.
Sure.
He was a prior customer, so when he reached out to us, we were more than happy to go out and find him.
It actually works out better too, because a lot of times people bring in cars that are, unless they have a sentimental value, it's more economical to find a car in better condition and have a higher initial outset cost in the car than the overall labor. And we try to steer people in that direction because we want the cars to be able to get finished, and we want people to be able to finish them as economically as possible.
Yeah.
So, sure, we could make more money and have rust buckets and just do 1,000 extra patches for another couple hundred hours, but we'd rather see people get where they need to go, as and maybe then they'll want to use their budget to upgrade the engine or suspension, or maybe they'll just save it, or maybe they'll do it in a second car. But we don't like to we try to economize so that people get the highest quality build that they can without spending money in a way that they're losing value.
I like that.
And even this time of year, the fall Carlisle is a week away. So we have different new clients that are coming in right about now that we can go down to the fairgrounds, pre-order parts, pick them up, and bring them back, and literally save them hundreds or thousands of dollars in shipping.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the oversized parts. And we provide a service like that by just going 15 miles up the road to do our business, put it in the truck, bring it back here, and go working on a car, instead of sending it through on the shipping, and then most of the times come in possibly damaged.
That's right.
So we try to find ways to let the people's budget get to the max, where we can save them money where we can.
That's just good stewardship.
Right.
And what you maybe hear in the background is Vanessa has pulled a handful, maybe 6 or so books, and I think it's great how you guys, for each of these jobs, are creating these self-contained books that walk from the purchase to the time it comes in to the disassembly and the engine work, and it takes you right up to the point then at the close of it. It talks a lot about what the work you've done and the picture of the owner and
Exactly.
the finished product.
We have maybe between 1,000 and 3,000 photos for any given job, depending on the length and the difficulty.
From start to finish.
Yeah, so they'll all have digital copies of that, and they'll get progress reports every few days or week, depending on what's going on at that given time. And so we try to keep everything transparent from the beginning with contracts and wish lists, which I can explain more later. But then also updated billing invoices where we have list of all the parts that are being bought, part for
Everything's
part.
itemized out.
Exactly, and then at the end of the job, they get a folder. They have a copy of the original parts bill, so if they ever need to order anything or see what was in the car or for evaluation, and that way also these are all the parts you're getting. We're not just putting some random number there and saying, it's off our inventory shelf, So that is all helpful. But the photos, we used to put all of them in an album, and then after 6 pages of rust, people are really bored at the show, so we do these for each of the customers so they have a consolidated breakdown of kind of this, and then they get a show board complimentary at the end of the job too. So
nice.
Yeah.
And most of the time is when we have these cars on display, we'll put a General Motors, a Ford, a Chrysler, a truck, a hot rod, a street rod, an import, because we want people to come into a tent and see that we have everything that we do. Because somebody might be a Chrysler fan. If they don't see a Chrysler, they'll walk right by you.
Right.
The idea is to look at the kind of work we do and say, if that car could look good, they could be good on my car. That's the whole idea.
Yes.
So we have gotten customers, like when I said we did that Buick for that guy, Roland, the '69 Buick. Because that car was on the internet and out there in our web page, we have a man named John Porter call me up from Texas and said that his father had a brand new '69 Buick Wildcat, just like the one we did for the gentleman in Far Rockaway. And he had it since brand new. He's the only original owner. And he wanted to know if we could do the same to his car like we did to Roland's car. I said, absolutely. And we got on the phone. We took things with the contract and the wish list to see what he wanted. He got his father involved. 2 phone calls later, we're on our way to North Carolina picking up the car. You know, we have cars that have gone to Denver, Colorado, to Texas, to Florida. We're working on a car here from Florida.
Yeah, the Bugattis.
You know, we have cars. Pretty much, we're starting to put little pegs on the map to see how far we got around the U.S. and it's pretty cool. We sold a car for a gentleman in E-Town. His name was Steve Savage. He built a beautiful '70s Chevelle, and he decided he wanted to sell it. We found a guy in Wichita, Kansas, that wanted to buy the car. And when the guy delivered the car, he said, Vinny, the guy is on cloud 9. I said, what do you mean? He says he is so excited and everything. He hasn't landed yet. He's on cloud 9. Because when we represent what we're selling for another person, we tell it like it is. Everything was there. When he got it, he couldn't believe it was everything it was supposed to be. So
nothing came up short.
He got his money's worth.
10 years later when we sold it.
He got his money's worth, and he was happy, and he's enjoying the car now.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was an example of somebody who had actually just, kind of been taken by another vendor, so he had gotten his money back, I guess, essentially from a job that was never built after years, and so just to have one and have it be exactly as advertised. But as far as the tent, this is an example of the spring show tent, so you can see we can try to have like a lot of variety, 69 Barracudas, 68
And there's nobody
Mustang.
in the whole car show that has more than 2 cars on display. We have 9.
Yeah.
To your point.
Next week we'll probably have 5 or 6 in the full show because we don't have as much room. But these cars will be cars that have been completed recently, or 5, 10, or 20-something years.
Wow.
Yeah, usually we'll have it under construction, and then all the way up to, like he was saying, like 25 years, so that way you can see the longevity of the build.
That's important.
And the quality.
Well,
And
we can show cars that are 25 years old that look what good as the day they came out.
That's amazing.
And that's a testament of our work, our material, our labor, and keeping a car in good condition as a customer by keeping the garage, keeping it clean and waxed.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a brand new car out of here, and if you leave it out in the weather, there's no way the car's going to stay in nice shape. You have to protect your investment.
You do. You really do.
But they are built so they can not take a beating, but they can be used and enjoyed, because the best example we have is at the GM show this year. We had 2 '70 Chevelles that we both built in 2009. One of them is rarely ever driven, meticulously maintained, but always inside, rarely driven. The other one is
about 15,000 miles on.
Yeah, takes it to every possible
Drive
show in the
every
local
show.
area. And, you
Hard to
can't
tell
walk
which is which.
around and
Right.
know which one
Right.
was which. So, they're not going to chip that easily or scuff that
Wow,
easily.
that's
So
impressive.
And that guy drives the wheels up there. He goes to every possible show you could ever imagine. So everywhere he goes, they know that car was done by us. And usually, he wins everywhere he goes. But
What a beautiful calling card for you
yes,
guys.
absolutely.
That's amazing.
Pictures are terrific, but when you have a real live subject there, like
You can see the depth of the paint.
Yeah, he has a 572 cubic inch motor in there. His name is Dave Darr. He lives in Carlisle. He's well known around here for going to all the shows and works in Giant Foods.
that's the one with 15,000 miles on it.
That's incredible.
So,
Wow. Is that a crate motor?
Yep, it's a 572 crate motor. Came through with 615 horsepower.
Phew. That's naturally aspirated too, right?
Yes, sir.
That's impressive.
Yep.
That is impressive.
We have a 63 Corvette we're building for a
French
gentleman.
exhaust, so it's obnoxiously loud.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
loud.
Too loud.
We have a customer named David Semmel who has a 63 Split-Window Corvette, which is resto modded. And we're redoing the car.
Is that the one that's in the shop that Vanessa showed me
Yeah,
earlier?
it's on the turntable there waiting to get painted. And we just put the LS9 supercharged motor in there, that dyno, that's 714 horsepower. So these cars are built with late model technology. It'd be better steering, better driving, better handling, new interior, new gauges, everything to make it like you're driving a brand new car, but have an old body laid on top. That's why they call them resto mods, because they're restored but modified. And they're worth sometimes 2 to 3 times the value of a stock original Corvette.
Wow.
You know, like original Corvette might be worth $150,000 in that year in top condition. These cars sometimes top out at $300,000 and $400,000.
Here's that frame, which we just brought to the other
Wow.
shop.
That's incredible.
So we do Corvettes, we do Cobras, we do fiberglass kit cars. So there's all the fiberglass.
Yeah.
We do street rods. We have a California kit car here that we did for a guy, Paul Masuri, in Staten Island, New York. That is a duplicate looking car from the movie California Kid back in the day with Martin Sheen. We built golf carts that had 57 Chevy bodies on them. We did pedal cars with trick paint jobs for kids, for grandparents and fathers that have been customers of ours, and they wanted something special for their grandchild.
Match their car.
It's really awesome to see a little kid smiling from ear to ear when you give them a car that looks like it's brand spanking new, more than you could ever expect on a pedal car.
Yeah, and we try to get the customers involved. So this is that show Let East that we always go to that we enjoy so much. We brought this 55 Chevy 210. I just died, but there, and so there they have a guy from Bad Chats Customs there, which the customer was a big fan of. So he actually ended up winning a Top 9 award, and the guy Chad was the one presenting all the awards. So you got to meet him.
There's a guy named Jerry Parks. He's from Westchester County, almost near the Bronx.
Yeah.
He's a retired fire captain. So we have people who are fire captains. We have people that are policemen. We have people that work for the Pentagon. We have people that are retired military. We
Active
have teachers.
military.
We have all walks of life from all over the tri-state, mid-Pacific area here, mid-Atlantic, and people from, like I said, Denver, North Carolina, South Carolina. They're entertained doing the rest of them off for a doctor that comes from California. So, you know, this is a true art. Not everybody wants to do this work. It's a time-consuming thing.
Yep.
A lot of guys like to do the collision where they're in and out and they make a quick buck, which is fine. This is a lot of passion.
Labor of love.
Labor of love. You don't always get exactly what you deserve, but if you do something you like every day and you enjoy it and you go to work and you're happy, you're way ahead of most of the other population out there.
Yes, sir.
The nice thing too is that with the internet, and this is kind of what's helped with us being able to expand and everything too, and just really focus on restoration as opposed to having to, like, we do collision. We also do custom collision. We'll have cars sent here from New York and other states that are in that are classics that have been either in flood or collision damages, just because a lot of people aren't familiar with how to actually repair them, and you know, they build them out like a regular, you know, brand new car collision. But so we do all of that, but being able to focus and really have everything be around restoration and customization is mostly because we have this like online power now, so we can approach. We have people coming to us from, you know, all over the country basically. Some of them not having ever seen an actual car we've built in person, just seeing them online or however. And because we've built kind of the contracts and the wish list and everything, they have that transparency, so they don't have to really worry. Like, we'll have people who've paid in full, never come to the shop, never see the car till it's finished, and then they get it delivered and they love it. And you know, and so you couldn't do that 20 years ago.
No.
Because you know, there'd be no way to see everything, and also, you know, it's just nice because we can email updates, we can text photos every day. So we have people that we really developed it because we had so many War College people that were overseas for the entire course of the build. So for 2 years, you know, even though they might live in Carlisle, they're overseas. So we kind of had to develop the system so that they could actively engage in the process.
Seems like a really good process.
Some of the car shows that we go to, we meet people. Like, we went to the good guys started our first time show in York, and it was at the York Fairgrounds. And we met a gentleman from Puerto Rico that was there with his wife, and he was pretty serious about wanting a 1935 Chevy Deluxe car
Master.
to bring back to to Puerto Rico. So we're trying to communicate with him to see what he wants to do, and then take that car, finish it for him, maybe send it to Puerto Rico and start making the name out of the States, you know.
Yeah.
When I was young, I built a truck. It was called Fine and Dandy. It was so far ahead of its time. It was a 74 Chevy pickup, and I sold it right here in Carlisle in 1983 because we were getting married, me and my wife Eileen, and I wanted to sell it for the apartment, the honeymoon, the wedding, so we sold it. It went to the Jersey Shore of Pennsylvania for many years in a showroom. Then that guy sold it to a guy that went to Canada. Then he sold it to a guy in the Netherlands. So that one truck had been to 4 different places.
Yeah.
And then one time I was at a New York Coliseum car show, and I had a 69 black Caddy that was just brand new. I just did the interior. It was only 30 miles old from the time I took it from Brooklyn to Manhattan to put it in a show. And this guy approached me. He wanted to buy it, and I didn't want to sell it. And he says, well, how much you want for it? I said, I'm not selling it. He said, well, what would it take? So he was hounding me to no end. So I just threw a number out, which was foolish of me. And I said, I won't take a dime less than 10 grand. And he said, I'll take it. And he bought the car. It turned out that he has Japanese steakhouses in Palm Springs, California, and in Honolulu, Hawaii. Amazing how that car went out to maybe Palm Springs, and maybe he shifted to Hawaii. Then we did a 78 Caddy that we did, and we did a candy apple red paint job, which was so competitive it beat out Corvettes for best paint awards most of the times. People were upset that they were getting beat in a show car that they have literally tens of thousands of dollars, and a Cadillac with a super unbelievable paint job was beating them for best paint. And that car I traded for a 55 Chevy, which I should have had my head examined because my car was a lot better than his. And that car stayed in New York State, but who knows where it is now. But
what's funny though is the Fine and Dandy one, like it had like a little bit of like local fame, I guess, in the New York area. That was like one of his first builds. But I actually had somebody email me like last year trying to ask like what kind of like lug pattern and wheel size on Fine and Dandy and stuff, like, because they still had like details from the shows and stuff.
Wow.
And they wanted to emulate it. This was the other from the throwback of one of his first builds.
And we've made magazines,
cool.
And we've been on videos. We did a black and silver 61 T-Bird that we had a 5-page spread. And we also got on a TV show called What My Car's Worth. And that was with the T-Bird. So that car got tremendous exposure, but it was so awesome a car that nobody's ever seen something that was done to this extent. Nobody two-toned that car, we two-toned it. Nobody did a two-tone interior, we two-toned it. We slammed it to the ground, put Foose wheels on it, had airbrush work on our thing instead of emblems where people was to feel it, to see that they couldn't believe how real it was.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's just exquisite.
As far as all the airbrush work, like for if we have the photos and stuff, like on all the cars except for the pinstriping on like the kids' car, it's all from J.R. Fogelsonger, who's like under the Bizarrist. So he works with us, and we try to have him do all of our...
He's an extraordinary guy.
He is.
Phenomenal work.
Yeah.
That T-Bird was sold and went to Florida, and the guy was a lawyer, and his father was a drummer for Pink Floyd. And after he bought that car, he wanted us to build him a Cadillac. So just by buying a car that we'd done, he wanted to go and start a second car. So that's how you build a name, that's how you build a future.
Yes.
And usually what you have is on display is what brings you more work.
Yeah. This was the first year, 94, so those were all the giveaways.
That's incredible.
Well, this was not a giveaway. But...
Beautiful work. Well, I know that we're coming up on the end of this. Well, I know that we don't want to talk specifics on time frames and things, but I'll turn to you, Vanessa and Vinnie. Let's talk about the new project that doesn't involve wheels, but it's moving location here. It's happening in the next, so we say, 12 months or so?
Definitely within the next 12 months, yeah.
It's a 96,000 square foot facility in the town of Shippensburg. It used to be called Hoffman Mills. It was a textile mill that was around for over 100 years. And the foreign market put them out of business. They went out of business in 2005. We purchased the building in 2017. We've been renovating it for over 2.5 years and looking to put the finishing touches on it within the next few to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully by the beginning of 2020, that building will be up and ready and going into the early parts of the spring maybe, and then have a big open house where we'll tell everybody through newspaper and maybe...
Well, Cars of Carlisle is going to be part of that, too.
Absolutely.
And it'll be great. Because when I first moved down here from New York, we had open houses across the street, and they were terrific. We got to meet a lot of new people, met a lot of new faces, made a lot of new customers.
Right.
You know, and once people see what you have, they realize that that's what they want.
Right. And it'll also be just awesome because I'm like the efficiency side of things. So for that, it'll be amazing because we'll be able to have all of our projects kind of working simultaneously. Right now we have multiple facilities, so we have to split up our staff and just split up our time. But there we'll have a 10,000 square foot body and fabrication center, and then we're gonna have 15,000 square foot paint center, about 12,000 square foot upholstery center, a 30,000 square foot storage center, and then another about 11,000 square foot area that will be for collision, but mostly like if you just want to upgrade your suspension, do brake changes.
Right.
We'll also be able to offer all dustless vapor blasting to strip the cars in house, and then we'll have a lot of like interior vendor type things like tints. We'll have a full detail
dash lighting and things like that.
Exactly, dash lighting, interior, audio. So basically, if there's anything you wanted to do to customize an older or a newer car, you could basically go there.
It's going to be all one roof,
right?
Like you said.
And then the showroom, which will have the retail area, automotive furnishings, and then we'll also have certain things like products that we, support and recommend. They'll have little stands there, and then we'll also have some independent artists just kind of selling, their prints, or some of them do custom rendering, so for different customers. And
what a great way to open it up.
Automotive art. We take actual car parts and create different things that are in everyday usage.
And there'll be a lot of that throughout the facility.
That's cool.
And we're
we
also
reincorporated a lot of the stuff from the building that was well over 100 years old in different locations. We're making tables and racks out of the metal that we took out of the building. We're going to make we used a big doorway that was in a vestibule area and moved it into a complete lunchroom. So we reincorporated a lot of that stuff. Plus, we have
really
a bunch
clever.
of souvenirs that we're going to have on display for all the people that had 2 and 3 generations that have worked in the Hoffman Mills building. So when they come in for the open house, they'll see things. And I've seen people come in and literally cry on the things that they saw. So I think this is going to be very emotional for people that worked their whole life, and grandparents that worked there, and they're really excited.
What a great thing you guys are doing.
And it'll be nice for the area too, because it's basically been a brown lot for the last 10 years. I mean, no one really made the effort to develop it because we've had to, no one wanted to tackle the 96,000 square foot roof that we basically had to do. But so now I'll be a working part of the community again. The building will be revitalized, so that'll be nice, and we should be able to add at least 5 more jobs like right off the bat, and we're hoping hopefully another 10 within the few years following.
Well, you mentioned even some things about services that maybe people, and I even said I might consider for my Z06 in the future, but having that square footage for essentially climate.
Right.
It'll be 30,000 square foot to start. We can expand it up to 45,000 without taking away from any of the other areas. So it'll basically be interior storage that's climate controlled, so that's between 50 and 90 with a 55-degree humidity factor. All be monitored. There'll be no exterior access to the building. It's all block construction, solid roof, no windows. There'll be a section in the back where we'll have a private collector's room that if you have someone who has a lot of vehicles that they want to store, or vehicles and or collectibles, they'll have a private feed circuit video monitoring system. Everything else will be monitored on a feed that only we can see. The cars will only be brought in and out by a few select customers that have access. Everything else is keyed access. So there's a lot of these places that make them like a clubhouse, and you're kind of hanging out, and it's like, I wouldn't want to have somebody sitting on my Ferrari with like a champagne glass, like they show in the ad, like that they're all hanging out back there, like it's a club. Takes away the the allure of security.
It's a giant safe deposit box.
Exactly. So they'll all have their own separate lined out areas. There'll be 3 packages, but everybody will get battery tender and or shut off, whatever their preference. Every month they'll get a check sheet that will have photos. Cars will have the fluids checked, oil checked, everything like that. The doors open, moved around so that they're not stagnant. And then there'll be build-on packages for if you want, the humidity cubes, like is extra, like the little bubbles that supposedly are completely rust-proof. But, it should be pretty good. And then also, a lot of the other facilities in the area, like in New York and Philadelphia, they have to outsource all of the work, whereas if you want to have your car completely detailed or ceramic coated, or you want to have the wheels changed or get air conditioning added by the time you pick it up, we can do all of that in-house.
Nice.
For that additional package. And we'll also offer transportation, so if you have your collection in New York, you can be transported to and from the facility. And so
all services, that's a beautiful thing.
We're in the service business. We're still alive. A lot of people don't have service in their blood. I grew up in a family business. My father taught me well. I know Vanessa learned well. Vanessa's kids will learn well. It's what you know is what you preach. So
that's right.
Giving people what they want is what we want to do.
Actions speak louder than anything.
Absolutely.
Well, what would your younger Vinnie self say about going from that 4,000 square foot in Brooklyn to what's now going to be coming up here in Shippensburg?
I think he would be happy, and I think he would be kind of knowing that was where the direction was going, because in my younger days I had a race car called Mr. Determination. I always was determined to do what I wanted. I worked many hard hours and many different jobs to get to a point that I could open my own business, and I paid the price, and it was worth it. And if you want something and you're working hard enough, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, you work hard enough, you can go out and grab anything you want and get it, and just move on from there. I'm happy with the results. I'm happy with our success. In this business, it's a roller coaster ride. There's some days that are super good, and some days are not so good.
Sure.
Everything depends on the economy.
Oh yeah.
Because the people that are building these cars, if they don't have that play money, it's hard to get them to build these type of cars.
That's right.
So with the help of God, the U.S. keeps getting better and better, and the economy keeps better and better. This will only grow and grow and grow.
Well, that's also why it's nice to have the diversity, because now we'll have the indoor storage as one end, we'll have collision on one, we'll have
revenue.
Painting, could be industrial or truck paint. We do a lot of fleet color changes, so if people want to have all red trucks for their company. So that is all going on, and the nice thing is that the new building, none of that will detract from anything that we're doing with the restoration, because they're all in independent wings, independent staffs. And the other thing is we have the expanded reach with more of a national customer base, but we also don't exclude anybody. So a lot of shops either do certain genres, or they only do cars if they can start from the beginning to the end and they won't come into the middle, or they don't want to do like smaller jobs or tiered jobs. We have things that we do that are rollers if people want to do their own mechanical work because they're mechanically inclined but they're not into the metal work and body and paint. We'll do a roller where we'll do all the metal work, all the body work, all the paint, get everything fit, and then send in, and then they do the mechanical. That's actually the car that just won at Let East, the 55210. We did everything, did the interior, sent it to him without the front clip. He put the engine in because he wanted to do that, did some wiring, sent it back, we put the front clip on, put the interior on, and now it's good to go. Other people, they just want to put the radio bezel on just because they want to feel like they had a tool on the car, and that's fine too. And 90% of the work is all frame off in-house, and and that's it. But we try to work with people. We've taken jobs that are always more aggravating because they were started and either done poorly or incompletely by other shops, and we don't want people to be stranded, especially with some of these cars that are generational cars that have been 3 generations in, and now they have basically a bunch of boxes that no one knows what to do with. So we don't exclude other people, but now we'll have kind of a wing for just kind of the not going full frame off, so it's not a maybe a 1 to 2 year project, but it's maybe I want new brakes or new suspension, and so that
or phases. Maybe someone does it; they can afford
we
it.
do phase
Year 1, I
phase
want to do
2.
this. Year 2, I'll do this.
Exactly.
Year 3, I'll do this.
And some of that is what we do too with the rolling frames and stuff. We try to get it so they don't spend the money twice,
Right.
but that way they can do things that they won't have to undo later when they get to the second phase.
That's smart, and that shows again you're working with them. You're not just trying to make a quick buck.
One of the big factors is the sport and hobby gets older. A lot of the older gentlemen can't finish their own cars, so they're partially done. So we help them out. We have some other companies that go out of business because they're old or they passed away, and we finish cars. We have a certain client that is a terrific person, a terrific customer. His name is Bruce Zinn. We met him back in the 2004-5 era, and he had a wife that was okay. They thought she was okay. They said come back in a year, and then when they came back in a year, she had breast cancer and it spread so bad that she died 3 months later. And we had a vehicle that he wanted to build with his wife for colors and choices, so he asked me if I would take his vehicle on and finish it. It's not something we did as a routine, because it's hard to pick somebody else's car, not know where they left off. But hearing his story, I couldn't say no to him. And I am so grateful that he came in. We met him. We became very good friends. He's a very good customer. He comes to shows with us. We go to parties on his end. He goes to parties on our end. He's just an amazing person, and you couldn't meet a nicer guy. And he's got kids that we did pedal cars for, and those are the things we work for. Those type of people, those type of customers, those are the people that make it worthwhile every single day to go to work.
That's amazing. Well, I'll leave you both with the final word. Ladies first. Vanessa?
I just really want to thank you for coming out, and I've always been interested, and I'll be interested to hear this, but just looking to get more involved in the general community and kind of have that outreach, and hopefully when we have the new center it'll be a lot more kind of street visible, but for people to just kind of pop in and see and explore, and because right now a lot of people find us from Texas, but a lot of people in this area don't realize that we're here, so it'll be good to have that kind of just like local kind of street traffic and everything again, and kind of get involved in the community a little bit and try to get more involved outside of just the shows, and more so just like on a day-to-day kind of more casual basis.
Well, Cars of Carlisle will be honored to be partnering with you, especially when you have your grand opening and getting that excitement of people to come to Shippensburg and see what it's all about.
Yeah, well, we have a whole book for that ready to go to as soon as we get closer, because that was definitely a full frame off restoration too. So.
Well, yeah, different guy.
Yeah.
Vinny, final word?
Well, again, like Vanessa said, thank you for coming down and sharing some time with us. Hopefully we can reach some of the people that are in the same hobby as us, and they like what we do, and possibly maybe get one of their family members' cars done. We love doing tribute cars. We go 110%, making sure that everything is right where they want it, because it's family heirloom is more valuable than anything else. There's so many memories. My dad was a supermarket guy back in Brooklyn. A car to him was just something you put gas in and go to the store and get stuff, or go to the market. So it's a lot more to me than it was to some people, but things like that, having these cars to do for people that had their family members pass, or even while their family member was alive, it means a lot to us. And I'm looking forward down the road to do one of the cars that Vanessa found in Oklahoma, which was a 61 Pontiac Catalina Safari wagon that my dad drove to the market. So we don't have his car, but we found one other in Oklahoma, and this is not a car
After
you
years
find.
of searching.
So we bought it. It needs total restoration. We're going to try to get to it along with everybody else's, and that's going to be my biggest memory of my dad.
That's
and I'm looking forward to doing that.
What a beautiful tribute to that.
Thank you.
Well, to the Scalavino family, thank you for hosting and having me, and we'll send it back to the studio.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to Studio A here at Cars of Carlisle Studios, and wanted to say a big thank you to Vinny and Vanessa for opening up their shop, and we are going to have ongoing episodes with them as they do major restorations or work on a really incredible project. We will go back out towards Shippensburg and meet with them and do some features and keep open line of communication. So there'll be more podcast episodes with our friends, the Scalavinos. So earlier in this episode, I asked the trivia question and simply was, did the founder of Bugatti, Ettore Bugatti, say that weight was the enemy, true or false? Well, the answer is true. It is indeed, has always been a principle of Bugatti that they build not only beautiful, gorgeous lined vehicles, but also trying to shave off weight wherever possible, so that with the large engines, they were able to attain incredible top speeds, especially going back the last 80 years or so. With that, they also put so much effort into the way that the engine blocks were designed. They hand scraped the blocks themselves. They wanted the design to speak for itself. They made the surfaces so perfectly flat and planed that they didn't even need gaskets sometimes for the sealing of that. A lot of the exposed surfaces of the engine compartment were, the finish on them were almost art-like, artwork, to the degree that it was almost too pretty to even get oil in. It was just, Bugatti has always put so much emphasis on the design, so the performance is not outmatched by the overall looks and beauty. So I will ask you all, if you would, please rate and review. We'd love to have your 5 stars, and thank you for your support of this show, and we can't wait to have you come back next week. If you do subscribe, the good news with that is it will automatically download into your queue. So Tuesday night, it'll be there waiting for you, whether you're out working in the shop or if you're on a commute Wednesday morning or maybe on the treadmill or whatever it might be. It will be queued up and ready for you to go. So encourage you to subscribe, and we appreciate everyone's ongoing support. This is your podcast. We simply just are behind the steering wheel. Be sure to reach out to us. Contact us at carsofcarlisle@outlook.com. Let us know your thoughts. We appreciate all the fan mail that we get. So for now, I'll simply say, drive well, be well, take care.